Okay, so the nice thing is far less formulas, right? The last one was 12. This one is 8. So you have 4 less formulas in this section, this chapter, than we did before. And some of them link up a little bit. So I think you'll see it's not terrible. But here's how you read the chart so that you're clear on what's going on, okay? You have prisms and cylinders, which are different things, right? A prism is going to look something maybe like, this is not your notes yet, okay? A prism might look like that. A cylinder is similar, but it's going to have circle bases, right? So it's 2 different things, but they use the same formula, okay? I'm going to have you write either on this thing that you're going to use all the time, that's fine. I'm going to have you write a few things down. So maybe pull up this formula sheet real quick, and then you're going to save this formula sheet, and you're going to use it all the time. And these are the things I want you to write at the bottom of it so that you make sure you're doing the right thing. Whenever you see a P on this paper, what does P typically stand for? Perimeter. Okay. Now, in this stuff, it is perimeter, but I'm going to give you a more specific perimeter. It is the perimeter of the base, okay? And I'll explain to you more of that when we get into it. When you see H in a formula, what does it typically mean? Height, okay? In this formula sheet, it means the height of the figure, okay? Not the height of the base, the height of the whole figure, okay? When you see a capital B on this formula sheet, it means the area of the base. Okay, so if you see a capital B, you need to think area of the base. L, the cursive L that you're going to see, means slant height. Okay, and then there are some R's, and you know what an R is. What's R? Radius. Okay, and then these things here, okay, LA, SA, and V, that is lateral area. How you'd be a little more winded. Surface area and volume is what those stand for. Okay, so here's the deal. Everything we do in this chapter moving forward now pretty much comes off of this piece of paper. Use it every day, okay? I will give you this exact sheet of paper. I don't give you all this. I don't give you all this. You need to know those things, but I give you the printed information on your quizzes and tests, okay? So you don't need to memorize these ever for me, but you do need to know how to use them. So the more you're in contact with them while you're doing homework, the better this goes, okay? Have this in front of you while you do your homework. If it makes more sense for you to print it, okay? We've got printers around, right? You can print at the library, you can print it at home. If that's better for you, then print it out. You'll have a printed out version when you take the tests and the quizzes, okay? Questions on that? Okay, let's jump into 11.2. Chapter 11.
What were the 3 on the side?
Lateral area, surface area, and volume. Okay, so today we're just doing 11.2a, and then we'll do 11.2b the next time I see you. So this is surface area, okay, surface area, the entire area of the whole surface of the figure of a prism, just prisms today. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. So surface area of a prism. First of all, you have to know what a prism is. Anyone know what a prism is? It's a big, long definition right here. It is a polyhedron, right? We talked about those the other day on the block. I guess I wasn't here to talk to you about that. You heard me talk about that. With exactly two congruent and parallel faces that we call our bases. Okay, so I gave you some pictures there to kind of give you a visual of what these look like. Your bases, like we said, have to be congruent and parallel, okay? Congruent and parallel faces. So the way we know these are our bases is they're identical to each other. They're congruent, but they're also parallel. Like if you kept them going, they would never intersect each other, okay? So we would call that a pentagonal prism. It's pentagon bases. What shape are all of the other faces? Rectangles, okay? In a prism, all of your other faces are going to be rectangles in a prism, okay? So your lateral faces, in other words, not your bases, would be every other face that you see there. Those are kind of shaded for you in that yellow. Like this is a lateral face, this is a lateral face. In the back are lateral faces, okay? This here would be a lateral face, this here would be a lateral face, and then the front one, this rectangle here, those are all lateral faces, okay? So the ones that wrap around it are the lateral faces. The two that are identical and congruent are your bases. Now here's the deal. If I take a figure like this one, first of all, can you name it for me? It's a hexagonal prism, okay? If I take this hexagonal prism and I hold it this way, what shape are my bases? Hexagons, okay? Your bases, everyone gets in their head that the base has to be the bottom. It doesn't. The bases are always the two that are parallel and congruent. So my bases right now are the two hexagons. No matter which way I turn it, it's the two hexagons, okay? If I gave you this figure, right? If my base is the square, doesn't matter which way I turn it, these are my two bases. Now a rectangular prism is a little bit different. You could treat these other ones like your bases because they are congruent and parallel. And you could still find whatever you need to find that way. But there's exactly two that are parallel and congruent in these, right? The two squares. So we don't want to call these our bases. Yes, you could still get there. It just wouldn't be the way we're going to get you there. But treat your bases as the two things that are identical and parallel. Yeah?
You can also do different bases in the hexagonal prism because there's...
Yes, except that like this is still a rectangle, right? So you could find the area of the rectangle the same way that you could find the area of other rectangles. These are, because there are so many rectangles, right? It's like, which ones are your bases? The bases, even on this one, your true bases are the squares. Yeah, so I know what you mean in that, but that's why we say there has to be exactly two congruent parallel bases, okay? Okay, moving on. What's an altitude?
Doesn't that connect from like the point to the middle of the...
Depending on the figure, it has to be what? Perpendicular, okay? And altitude is always going to be, girls, turn around. Turn your whole body this way. There you go. An altitude of a prism is a perpendicular segment, okay, that joins the planes of your bases. So, for instance, we could say, well, I'm not even going to go there. The altitude and the height are essentially very similar, nearly identical things, okay? Your altitude is going to be used as your height. So your height is going to be the length of your altitude. So that means your height always has to be perpendicular as well, right? So your height is always going to be perpendicular to your bases because it's your altitude. We are going to focus mostly on what are called right prisms, but there is something called an oblique prism. You should know how to do both, but most of what I give you is going to be a right prism. Here's the difference. In a right prism, your lateral faces are rectangles, and your lateral edge is an altitude. Okay, so the altitude or the height is actually one of the edges of your figure, whereas in an oblique prism, it's kind of like someone just poked the top edge and it like tilted a little bit, okay? Now your height goes outside of the figure in an oblique prism, or I mean, it can go inside, but it's just not gonna be an edge of your figure anymore. So those are gonna be non-rectangular lateral faces. They're gonna be more of a parallelogram, if you will. So we will focus more on the right prisms, but you'll see a few oblique prisms here and there. Any questions on just terminology? I know that's a lot of words. We'll try and get away from the words now. All right, so here's what it does. Okay, we are gonna be finding the surface area, okay? Surface area means the area of every surface that figure has. So there is something called a lateral area. Your lateral area is the area of your faces that are not the bases, okay? The surface area includes the bases in that. So if I were to take this figure, we're gonna draw a net for it. So I'm gonna draw it, how am I gonna draw this? I'm gonna make these my bases. Okay, like I said, with rectangular prisms, because every set of rectangles is slightly different, you could use different ones as your bases. That one, they're not slightly different, so that's why I say not as much on that one. So if I draw this as a net right now, okay, let's lay this out. You have, I'm gonna draw this rectangle. Okay, so the dimensions of that rectangle are h by L. Do you see that? So I'm gonna go h by L. Here's L, here's h, okay? Next to that, on the left, would be this little rectangle, which has dimensions of h by W, okay? Next to that on the right is another h by W. And then that front face is another L by H. Okay, that you're seeing right now, this right here, is a lateral area. It's the area of everything except for what? What do we call those pink things? The pink shaded.
Base?
Those are your bases, okay? So your lateral area is the area of everything but the bases, okay? When we add the pink parts in, so now I'm gonna put one rectangle here and one rectangle here. Those rectangles are L by W and L by W, okay? Now this whole thing is your surface area. I didn't leave you guys enough room here. So I'm going to give you two formulas for this. No. Sorry, I really should have given you more room. Let's do this. Okay, so blue is lateral area. The whole thing is surface area. So here's the formula, okay? If you think about it, if I wanted to find the area of this piece right here, I know my dimensions are h by W, right? If I want to find the area of this piece, it's a rectangle that is L by H, W by H, L by H. So see all the four different rectangles there? I could find the area of each rectangle and add them up and I would have my lateral area. I don't want you to have to do that every time. I don't want you to have to draw a net, find the lateral area by finding the 4 different areas and adding them together. So instead, some brilliant mathematicians realized there's a better formula. So here's the formula, okay? It's on your formula sheet. It is P times H. What did we say P stands for? Of the base, okay? So if you look at this figure, the perimeter of your base is this, right? It's L plus W plus L plus W, okay? So you can find the perimeter of the base very quickly if you know those numbers. What does H stand for? Height of what? Not height of the base, height of the whole figure, okay? So this is the perimeter of the base. This is the height of the figure, okay? The height of the figure right now is that H, right? So if I take the perimeter of the base times the height, I will get that blue and purple now area, right? That's my lateral area. My surface area, here's your other formula, is the lateral area. So it's whatever you get here, P times H, plus the 2 areas of your bases. Okay, that's your surface area formula. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those 2 formulas and we're going to find the lateral area and the surface area of these 2 prisms. Okay? And then we're done. All right. Did my clock not fix yet? What time is it right now? Oh, my clock says it's 10:45. Shoot, we gotta hustle. Okay. So my lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the height. So we're gonna treat our bases as these guys. What is the perimeter of my base? How'd you get that?
4 plus 4 plus 6.
Right, 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, right? So your perimeter is 4 plus 3 plus 4 plus 3, or you can do 2 times 4 plus 2 times 3, right? So your perimeter of your base is 14, right?
Yeah.
14. Okay, what is H? It's the distance between your 2 bases, right? It's the height of the figure. So this is your H, the 5. So my lateral area is 14 times 5. And when you plug that in, you get 70, and it's an area, square centimeters. Okay, so that's the area of what you're looking at there as green. We want the surface area. So what you do is you say the surface area is our lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base, because we have to add those 2 bases on, okay? So this becomes a little simpler because we already have this number. This number is going to drop in for LA, so 70 plus 2, and then we just have to figure out the area of the base. Well, our base, right, is down here. What is the area of that? 12. It's 4 times 3. So 2 times 4, oops, not times 12, times 4 times 3, or 2 times 12, okay, is 70 plus 24. So our surface area is 94 square centimeters.
Do you always have to write 2 times 4 times 0, or could you just do 20?
2 times 12, yeah. Or, 24. But the more you show me, like the fact that I knew you plugged all this in, I can give you so much partial credit on the test if you show me all that. So I recommend, typically what I will do is I'll go 70 plus 2 times 12 is how I'll usually write it. But I just want everyone to see where I'm coming from right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last one. Find the surface area. So your lateral area is the perimeter of the base times the height. Now, what shape is your base?
Triangle.
A triangle. How do you find the perimeter of that triangle?
Yeah, do the
Pythagorean theorem. Are you with me? This is hard. Pay attention. Pythagorean theorem, if I want the perimeter of that triangle, right? You have to go call this x 3 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. So when you solve that, x comes out to 5. Okay, so your perimeter of your base is 3 plus 4 plus 5. So that means your perimeter is 12. What is h? H is the height of the figure. It's the distance between your two bases. That's the 6. So your lateral area is 12 times 6, or mental math, 72. 72 what? Centimeters squared. Okay, so that's your lateral area. Now your surface area is your lateral area plus 2 times the area of your base. What is the shape of your base right now? It's a triangle. How do you find the area of a triangle? 1/2 base times height. So your capital B is 1/2 times 3 times 4. Okay, so that's 6. So you're going 72 plus 2
Juniors and seniors, please remember to
times
go to the
6,
Legacy Chapel
right?
now to watch the premiere of the JSB reveal video. Thank you.
So you get a surface area of 84 square centimeters. Okay?